everyone, it's Missy, and today I'm going to show you how I bake gluten-free banana bread in my Hamilton Beach home baker bread maker. The reason why I chose this bread maker to own is because it has the gluten-free setting as part of one of the pre-bake settings. It's the third one up here. Anyway, if you have a different bread maker, that's perfectly fine. You should still be able to make this recipe. I have my timetable for my cycles here listed here, and the one I'm not even going to be using the gluten-free bread setting. I'm actually going to be using the quick bread setting, and it's an hour and 40 minutes long. And so at an hour and 40, mine counts backwards. So it mixes the dough, and it does that for 7 minutes, and then it lets the dough rest for 5 minutes, and then it will mix it again. It says second kneading, and it will mix it again for 8 minutes, and then the baking time is an hour and 20 minutes long. So think of it as 20 minutes of mixing and resting the dough, and then an hour and 20 minutes for baking. So if you have a programmable one, you can input those settings into your bread maker. Another thing that's a little bit different from my bread maker than yours maybe is I need to put the liquid ingredients on the bottom first and the dry ingredients second. If I was to use yeast, it has to be up on top, but we're not using yeast in this recipe because it's a quick bread recipe. So you're going to see me mix up my liquid ingredients and pour those in, my dry ingredients, and pour those on top. Please consult the manual with your bread maker model, and so that way you know, because those might be reverse order, dry ingredients first, liquid ingredients second. So let's get started. The ingredients you're going to need, there's a list of them in the description below, but I start with 2 ripe bananas, 2 eggs, and a 1/4 cup vegetable oil with 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So those are my wet ingredients. My dry ingredients are 1.25 cups of white rice flour, 3/4 cup sugar, and then if you can see in here, I have on the bottom left is 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and then to the right is 1/2 teaspoon baking soda. Up on top is a 1/4 teaspoon salt, and then I have 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum. You can also use guar gum, and those are my dry ingredients. So what I'm actually going to do, make sure that your ingredients are at room temperature before you start. I'm going to mix up my dry ingredients first. So I'm pouring the sugar and my other baking components and mixing it with the flour. And I typically just use a fork just to kind of give them a good whisk before I pour this into my bread maker. And it doesn't have to be perfect because your bread maker is also going to be mixing the dough. And then for my wet ingredients, I am actually going to mix up my eggs first. I do this with gluten-free baking because I noticed when I mix up my eggs, the product seems to turn out better in the end. I don't know if there's an exact science to that or not, but that's just something that I do. And then I want to mash my bananas. So again, I'm still doing this with the same fork because I don't like to dirty up a lot of dishes if I don't have to. So you just want to give them a good mash. It doesn't have to be perfectly mashed. And if you have a potato masher, you can use that too. That sometimes works better. But this fork method seems to work out okay too. Okay, so then I just want to pour my egg mixture in there and pour my oil, and then add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And then just kind of mix and mash the whole works together. And if you want to, you can add like chocolate chips, you can add nuts. I've seen people add like dried fruit like raisins, cranberries, and anything that you want. Put that in the wet ingredient mixture, this mixture here. I probably only add maybe a quarter, maybe half a cup of extra ingredients. I don't. I like my banana bread just plain banana bread. So it looks pretty good. I already have my paddle in my bread maker, so it's all set to go to start pouring the ingredients in. Another trick that you can do with these paddle ones is you can actually mix the dough as a separate cycle, and then before you put it in the bake cycle, you can actually stick your hand in here and pull out the paddle, and then you'll just have a smaller hole. You won't have a whole paddle in your bread. For me, I don't really care. It's on the bottom of my loaf, so, and when you come in to cut to it, it's fine. But another thing that I forgot to mention is that my bread maker is a 2-pound capacity bread maker, so I make 1.5 or 2-pound loaves. If you have a 1-pound, an older 1-pound capacity bread maker, you can cut this recipe in half and it should work out for you. So, like I said, I have to pour in my liquid ingredients first. So I just scrape as much into that as possible. It already smells so good. We have such cold, frosty weather outside because of the fall, and it's so nice to have the house smelling like fresh baked bread. Oh, and it doesn't really warm up the house, my bread maker, but it does smell so good. And then I'm just going to pour my dry ingredients up on top. And then I'm going to put this in my bread maker. Okay, so to kind of show you what I'm doing here, I'm going to adjust the cycle. Well, I'm going to shut my lid first. So my cycle is going to be number 4 because that's my quick bread cycle. My crust I'm going to put to light, and I don't have to choose the poundage of my loaf with the quick cycle. It's just default. So I'm just going to press my start button, and then I can show you, I hope, might be a little dark, but you can see it starting to knead. And when it pauses for the first rising, that I scrape down the sides of my bread maker, so I make sure that all the ingredients are combined. And this is what it should look like after it comes out of the bread maker. It should be a nice golden brown, and this one turned out to look pretty good. And you want to put it on a cooling rack and let it cool for about 10 to 15 minutes before you dig in. So now let's see what the inside looks. This has been cooled. There we go. And we got a nice texture on the inside, just a few holes, but it looks pretty good. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments or questions below, please leave them. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Thanks. Bye.